Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fatalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I take a deep breath before I start or what. I always have to yawn. I just wanted to check in really quickly on some of those far afield things that, probably won't happen, but it's worth mentioning. And it is kind of an interesting thing regardless. And that's the TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson ordeal. Both of them pass rushers, both of them looking for contracts. And the reason I actually started looking into it is I just saw kind of in the background a bunch of people talking about TJ Watt. Oh my goodness. And it was in a way that I thought either a deal got done or was about to get done. And I'm over here searching, and it seems to be the opposite. It sounds like the situation with TJ Watt is very similar to Jair, is very similar to Trey Hendrickson. And it's interesting because, not only is it worth bringing up just for the sake of, you never know, but just from a standpoint of, I feel like something weird is happening in the NFL. And maybe it's just because the Packers are involved and this stuff always happens. I don't know, but it feels to me like there is recently, or maybe just this year, I don't know, a disconnect between players saying this is what we're worth and the NFL saying, no, I don't think so. And it almost feels to me a little bit like, and I know like with the second round rookie thing, that's more on the player's side. The players, the agents are asking for something unreasonable because the Texans kicked this off by giving something unreasonable. But and again, it might just be a coincidence, these things happen. There are so many talented veterans in and around that 30 years old range where I feel like usually these are automatic slam dunks. Jair might be a little bit different. Again, I don't know the full stuff. I mean, the injury thing is obviously a problem, and the NFL at whole wasn't really interested in him, which, again, I don't know if that's an NFL thing or that's changed or what. But there might have been some other issues, whatever. But it's kind of like that. But it just feels like for a lot of these, this is automatic. Of course you pay Trey Hendrickson. Of course you pay TJ Watt. Even Myles Garrett. Or, and I know he got paid, but Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. These were automatic things that, at least for a while, were, I don't know if this is going to get done. And, that's part of the negotiation process, I guess. But it seems odd to me that I feel like we're talking about this so much where my frame of reference of, and it's not necessarily these are guys you never get rid of because they are kind of on that older end of the spectrum a little bit, but it just feels kind of obvious. Yes, we're talking early 30s range, but we're also talking some of the best players at premium positions. Trey Hendrickson is not as well known or talked about, but is absolutely, when you look at the numbers, one of the best pass rushers in football. TJ Watt, easily one of the best pass rushers in football. What is the problem? And again, you could tie that in with the Packers, where I was kind of mentioning before, where it's just feels like things aren't as straightforward. And again, the contracts that we've seen aren't generally straightforward. I think the straightforward ones do tend to get done. I don't know. It just seems weird that things just don't seem to be getting done as easily. It's not as straightforward as just, here's the value and here's how it gets done. I would think TJ Watt would be one of those. And I don't know if it's players being unreasonable or teams being unreasonable. In the case of the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, it certainly seems like the Bengals side. The TJ Watt thing, I discovered what the hubbub was about all of this, and it turns out it's kind of stupid. A lot of Steelers fans, a lot of people are like, "Oh, the Steelers are going to ruin this. They're terrible. They're doing all." It's from a report back in 2021, the last time they were getting into contract negotiations where they said he was lucky to be a Steeler, and Watt said, "You're lucky to have me." That's a stupid comment to make to a player, but that was the last negotiation. That's not this one. The only thing it could maybe do is kind of foreshadow a little bit of their attitude and maybe what some of the problems are this time, but that's pretty weak in my opinion. But it almost feels like the NFL, and again, maybe this is on the player side wanting more, but it feels to me like the NFL is maybe pushing in general to be younger and doesn't put as much value in these older players and doesn't want to keep dishing out these major contracts to these, guys that are on declining ends of their careers. I don't know. Again, this could all just be a coincidence. Maybe I'm just, misremembering, or maybe it's because it's affecting the Packers seemingly a little more, and so I'm more attuned to it. But it seems weird that we keep sitting here going, why can't you sign T.J. Watt? Why will you not sign Trey Hendrickson? And, these things do happen, and sometimes they pour into the season and whatever. But it does make me wonder, because in both cases with Watt and Hendrickson, the one thing that's odd to me, as maybe compared to other times, is you just get the impression that they're just nowhere near on the same page. And that was the case with Jair as well. There's a massive gap between what the team feels that the player is worth and what the player feels that the player... Well, actually, it turns out it wasn't a massive gap, but Jair felt like it was a massive gap, I guess. But it does leave open that same question that's been hovering. Could there possibly be some kind of a thing that gets done? And I think another thing, I mentioned before that there are sort of these timelines. There's timelines, or maybe not timelines, but these actionable dates, I guess, where you would expect things to happen. That's going to be not only for the team, like the Steelers, the Bengals, and the players, whether it's contractual or, the freaking season's coming up, training camp's coming up. These are dates where you want to make sure things get done. But there's also things to keep in mind in terms of a lot of teams go into training camp saying, let's just see what we got. And whether it's injuries or just, things aren't looking as good as I had hoped, XYZ didn't take the step that I had hoped, or doesn't seem to be. We got that first-round rookie, and he's not really doing it for us. That could be a situation where the team, the player, whatever, feels as though there could be increased interest at a certain point. Now, the problem for the Packers is I don't think they get there at pass rusher. In fact, I don't even know what position you could say that would be, because I don't think there's really anything that could happen. I know from a fan's perspective, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, I mean, if Lucas Van Ness doesn't look like he's it, then we need to do it. Maybe. I don't know if the Packers are going to do that. I think the Packers really like what they have in Rashawn. I think I don't know if they like what Lucas Van Ness brings, but I think they have a lot of confidence in Lucas Van Ness. They're also a very patient team that's much more likely to say, let's see how this year goes, and then we'll do something if need be next year. The flip side of that, from my perspective, is rather than looking at raising the floor, the Packers are looking at raising the ceiling. That is to say, we're going to do something big to go aggressively attack a Super Bowl. I don't think there's really anywhere that I can think of where they would say, we're screwed and have to do something. It's not quarterback, it's not running back, it's not going to be wide receiver, I don't think. It's not tight end. I'm pretty sure it's not offensive line with all the new pieces they have. Maybe defensive tackle. That maybe would be an area where they're like, we got to do something. I don't get the impression they love Devontae Wyatt. They didn't really get anybody until late. I know they like Kenny, but, I mean, come on. At some point, they got to see the situation. And then the, converted edge rushers they brought on the inside, I don't know that that's really materializing a ton. That may be the one area. Another one that I think fans would consider is corner. I don't think the Packers would. I think they like corner more than what the fans do. And I think Hobbs and Nixon have 1,000% locked things down in the minds of where the Packers are. I also think they like Valentine, and I don't think they're going to give up on Bullard. So I don't think the Packers would make a move based on we're screwed. It would have to be based on we want to do something big. But also the demeanor of the Packers this entire year has not felt that level of desperation of we need to do something big. It's felt very measured, we're going to take it easy, we're going to go into this with what we have, and we're going to, we're going to go expect a lot from the team that we have, I guess. All of that to say, I wouldn't necessarily expect, even if they did become available, not only because, there's a billion teams and everybody would want them, I can't imagine the Packers are at the top of that list. In general, I can't imagine that. And then looking at the specifics of what the positions are and how the Packers feel about that makes me feel less good about it. The way the Packers have attacked this whole offseason has not felt like a team that feels like we have to go all in for this year. So I know there was a report by CBS Sports NFL analyst Cody Benjamin suggested that the Green Bay Packers should be one of 5 teams most aggressively pursuing a trade with the Steelers for Watt. He says it's kind of a shame that Watt's older brother JJ never got to suit up for his home state in the at the NFL level. Perhaps TJ can correct that. The Packers aren't necessarily in dire need of a pass rusher with Rashawn Gary headlining their group, but with Lucas Van Ness coming along slowly, why would they turn down a perennial All-Pro as they look to make a leap as a playoff contender? In the year 2025, when an ex-Packer great and Aaron Rodgers is trying to save Pittsburgh, the kind of... I didn't think about that twist, but that would be pretty wild. If Rodgers went there, we not only take JJ away from the Steelers, but then sick him on Rodgers when that game comes. That would be pretty wild. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with any of this. There's 2 sides to this. Would I like TJ Watt? Of course. Everybody would love to have TJ Watt, all things being equal, or in a vacuum. Then there's the question of, do I believe the Packers are in any way a serious contender, assuming this even becomes available, to land TJ Watt? I just have to assume that it's no. And again, for many levels, number one, do I think he's going to leave? Less than 50%. Then just do the, 1 of 31 thing. Then, which teams are most likely? Which teams are most likely to give up draft capital? Packers are lower on that list. Which teams are most desperate for pass rush help? I don't think the Packers are very high on that list. The only area where the Packers kind of excel and are unique is sort of those bubble teams. They're absolutely playoff contenders, and you're one of those teams looking for that one little bump, right? I don't know how much teams actually buy into that. I'm very skeptical of that one thing that's going to take you from, no hope to Super Bowl championship. But, it certainly would help. It can't guarantee anything, but it certainly could help. But outside of that, I'm not seeing it. But again, with all these things, we'll keep checking along. I'm happy that everyone seems discouraged, although again, I think it's from a 2021 report, which is probably nonsense. As far as, dates to keep an eye on, everybody wants their guys back for training camp. We've got a handful of weeks before these players need to start coming back. The level of how serious things are goes up when these guys don't show up to training camp. That's true for Elton Jenkins. That's true for, God forbid, Zach Tom. I doubt that becomes a thing. I think that's whatever. It's true for Anthony Belton. It's also true for players that we potentially could be keeping an eye on, like TJ Watt, like Trey Hendrickson, etc. So, all right, why don't we take a break? We'll be right back, and we'll start taking some calls. All right, we do have a new caller today. 608-501-0718 is the phone number if you want to call in. If you are a new caller, you go to the front of the line. So let's get started here.
Hey, Ryan, this is Bogeyman out in Alameda, California.
All right.
First-time caller. Put you to the top of the list. Hey, I just have a question. It's a dead zone question. When the NFL is trying to decide about the tush-push, I remember, it reminds me of this Packers player back in the 70s or 80s, maybe someone knows, who had a idea to run to the line from behind the line during a field goal attempt, jump as high as he could, and block the field goal. He got so good at this that the NFL decided to make it a rule not to be able to do this. You cannot run towards the line from where the linebackers usually play and jump. And they used safety concerns as the reason for that. Could you find out who that player was? I remember that Don Shula was on the rules committee, and he was one of the guys that outlawed it. So just a dead zone question for you. All right. Have a good one. Go Pack, go.
Well, not knowing who the guy is, I can't promise you that I found him, but I might have found him. Sounds like you might be talking about early 80s Packers tight end Gary Lewis, known for his exceptional athleticism to hurdle and block a number of field goal attempts in 1983, so much so that he forced opposing coaches to argue it was illegal. That is hilarious with the parallels of the tush push, where they get so good at something, everybody says that's not fair because safety. While the NFL didn't officially ban line leaping until 2017, with players like Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Justin Simmons cited, Lewis's leap-heavy tactic in the 80s caused quite a stir at the time within the Packers organization, enough to get noted in fan lore. Apparently is saying that Don Shula, although he was a part of that committee, and I'm sure you're remembering something, but they said that it didn't officially get banned, so there's either you're remembering correctly and it's not finding it correctly, or it's slightly misremembering something. But yes, Don Shula was a part of the rules committee, but it says Don Shula didn't obviously come up with a rule for that because there was no official rule for that, but maybe there was a lot of discussions that Don Shula was a part of. It's entirely possible. He said Don Shula was part of other rule changes around that era, such as adding the side judge in 1978 and later regulations. But yeah, the official banning didn't come until 2017. That's cool, though. Because I think about guys like Troy Polamalu, right? I always think of him as being like the OG. It's crazy to think that, no, I was a Packers tight end in the 80s that kind of started that whole thing. I went on YouTube and looked up Gary Lewis Packers top video. 189 views, tragically, from 4 years ago. Green Bay Packers tight ends of all time. The most shocking season in Green Bay Packers history, 1983 Packers. So yeah, not a ton about him specifically, but a little bit around, when you look at the top tight ends, plural, I suppose he played during just an awful era for the Green Bay Packers that nobody wants to remember, even among people that were around back then. I obviously was not. That top tight ends of all time thing. It's not a great video, I will say, but it had him as the first tight end listed on there at number 25. It's a good call, though, man. I appreciate that. Was it Bogeyman? That's a good one. And I'm not a big history guy, but it is cool to kind of go back and learn little tidbits like that, I know Clayton is a real big history guy. A lot of Packer fans are big history guys, and it is extremely interesting. I like it in bite-sized pieces. I couldn't sit down and read like a Packers history book or something, but yeah, little individual bite-sized stories like that are super cool. Especially about guys that, nobody is ever going to talk about him. And he does have a unique claim to fame. There is a lineage of guys, like I said, Troy Polamalu or Cam Chancellor or whatever, that kind of popularized those types of things to the point where, as you said, it did end up getting banned. And for a guy that nobody remembers outside of Bogeyman to have kind of come up with something like that decades before other guys started doing it. Not to say, who's to say maybe somebody else had done it and he saw it, or maybe the coaches told him to do it. I don't know, but it's a very, very cool little tidbit. Nate, what's going on?
It's Nate, just calling in to get some extra calls out there.
Appreciate it.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in the minority. I kind of like calling in during the off season and the dead period.
Good.
For no other reason really than sometimes when you call in during the season, there's so many calls that you'll talk about an issue from one game, and by the time the call gets played, it's already
Yeah.
Almost time for the next game. It's nobody's fault, just a lot of us calling in these days. But anyway, first of all, had to comment on 1265 fan talking about how hot it was. Yeah, I agree. I have always felt that summer is the second worst season. It's the second worst season because obviously fall is number one. Spring, I'm gonna put.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I do like summer, but I would take fall and spring over summer. My wife actually just yesterday, we were outside. She's like, "Oh, it's so horrible," and I was like, "Well, it's better than winter." And she's like, I don't know about that. She's like, well, spring and fall are better. Well, of course, spring and fall. I mean, spring and fall are phenomenal. Everybody gotta love spring and fall. However, and this is how stupid I am, I'm getting to the point where I don't like fall because I dread winter so much. Fall is basically saying it's coming, and it just pisses me off. To be clear, I am the person who hated Sundays more than any other day because of the anxiety I had for Mondays. I'm talking going all the way back to elementary school. Friday was the best day ever because it's like, oh, it's over, like this is it, let's go. I don't even care that I'm going to school, dude. I'm going to get through this and it's over. And Saturdays were good, although as time went on, I started to get so stressed about Sundays, I started not enjoying my Saturdays because I'm telling you, that's how psychotic I am about things. So much I dreaded Mondays and school and work and things of that nature. Just to give you an idea how much I hated it. But yeah, Sundays, absolutely the worst because I couldn't enjoy it. It didn't even feel like a day off. It was just filled with anxiety about the fact that tomorrow I have to go back to school and it's a whole week of school. So fall is becoming that. I can't enjoy fall because it's just the dying of all the beautiful things that are nice, warm, enjoyable weather. But outside of that weird psychotic quirk that I have, no, spring and fall are awesome. And summer does get to be a little brutal. So I would agree it's the second worst of four. But it's like, if spring is like a 10, fall is a 7.5, summer is like a... That's not even fair. Fall is an 8, summer is a 7, winter is a 1.1. So yeah, it's the second worst, but it's not even in the same friggin' ballpark. What's going on?
Number two.
There we go.
Probably number 2 because it's wet outside. It's kind of gross, but temperature-wise, it's comfortable. The reason summer is where it is it's always so damn hot and so humid, and then you got bugs and sunburn, and there's a lot.
I don't mind sunburn as much. Again, like everything is like psychological with me. I guess so I associate sunburn with like going to Florida, vacations, going to the beach. I don't think I've ever had sunburn on a day that wasn't awesome. Maybe like doing yard work or something, or when I did landscaping when I got older, but by that point it was already burned into my head. When you're a kid and you get sunburn, nothing bad ever happened on that day. Even the suffering that came after the fact, and I got ridiculously... I'm guessing a lot of us, my age or whatever, today, like, my wife will put sunscreen on our kids on a cloudy day. It's like, well, technically, what are we doing here? Bro, we would go to Florida on the beach. We would have sunburn so unbelievably bad, you couldn't put shirt on, you couldn't move. Now, like, the fear of skin cancer has everyone so freaked out. Like, if you have sunburn, it's like, you have done something horrible. You have given yourself cancer. But, yeah, especially, like, nowadays, I don't get any serious sun. I get a mild little burn on the neck or something for being, it's no big deal. It's not like the old days where it's like you aloe up your whole body and then you're supposed to put a freaking shirt on over that. It was the most uncomfortable, awful thing. So you got sunburn and aloe with a shirt over. Oh, but it was still awesome. I don't care. I don't mind that. And again, like today, I went and opened up the back door and it was apparently only 77, but it's so... Humidity I do hate. I will say that. Heat, not a problem. Humidity gets to be a little obnoxious, especially if you're doing any kind of work. Because it's like, I can't freaking breathe, bro. There's too much water in the air. There's no actual air in the air. I'm just sucking in water. It just makes everything so hot. And you're sweating like crazy when it's humid. But again, it's still When it gets crazy hot and humid, okay, it's down to a 5. Still better than a 1.
Good. That's why it's number 3 and not in last place, because winter's the worst. But I do kind of have to agree. I can't do 0 degrees. 0 degrees is too much. But if you're talking it's 20 degrees or higher, I'll take that over 90 degrees or more summertime with humidity and shit. So
maybe. I don't know. Especially when you're used to it. When you're coming out the other side of it, 20 degrees when you're used to 50s and 40s really sucks. So I don't know that this is true. I'd have to check, but I think the actual pain comes when you're below freezing. And I think it's the water in your hand. I'm making this up, but I think that's a large part of what it is. Below freezing is when things start to hurt. When it's 50 and you get that drop down to 20, that is miserable. When it's 0 and it goes up to 20, it's not so bad. So depending on which side of that spectrum we're talking about, if it's February and, it's 20 degrees and sunny, I'm probably happier than on a day that's 100, but that's because it's February and I'm thinking, hey, spring's coming. I can see the sun. I can almost feel it. It's a good day. As long as it's not windy. If it's windy, no. I don't care. 100 and humid. I do not care. In my mind, I'm on the beach just chilling.
That's kind of where I stand on that. The other discussion that I wanted to have is there's a new Jurassic Park movie coming out.
Yes.
I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan.
Okay.
And I just kind of wanted to get your take on, I don't know if you've seen all of them or not.
No.
But how would you rank them? Because I obviously, Jurassic Park number 1 is a masterpiece. Masterpiece.
Yes.
One of the greatest movies ever made.
Yes.
Number 2, it's there. It's there. Third one is a piece of garbage. Jurassic World, that was okay. I wish they would have brought back the original crew for that one. I think that would have made it a lot better. And then the rest are garbage. So I'm not super pumped. I'm still going to go see it, but I don't have high expectations for it. Just want to know if you're a Jurassic Park fan and to what degree, because I've also read the books because I'm that guy. So
that's crazy.
Okay, just want to get your thoughts and hoping we can have some fun discussions in the off season. Go Pack, go!
I am not that guy. I'm the guy that didn't even know books existed about these movies. I just and there's no point telling me about it either because I could not care less about a stupid book. Get me started on books, man. I'm sure if you've been listening long enough, you've heard me anti-rant about books, which is why some people are like, well, that's why he's such an idiot, I guess. I don't think there's listen, first of all, I can't imagine finding joy in reading a book. It's like watching a movie if you put it on 25% speed and muted it and put on the captions. And even that would be better because it's still going to be faster than reading the book. And I still get pictures to go along with it. Or how about we just put it on 100% speed and unmute it, and then we got a movie and it's awesome? Well, the book is better. Listen, I think that's only true for some people, and it's because your imagination can kind of fill in the blanks, and obviously you're going to fill in the blanks with what you find to be the best, and nobody's going to be able to replicate that. You know what I mean? I don't care, and I can't do that. I don't have that kind of... When I was younger, I had a great imagination. I don't anymore, and I have no desire to do that. I can't be that locked in and engaged. I don't remember who these people are. I need to see their faces in the movie, and even then, I sometimes can't remember who these people are. Be watching a movie, and they'll go through and be like, oh, hi, Jim, da-da-da-da. And then, half hour later into the movie, they're like, oh, Jim is coming by later. I'm like, who the heck is Jim? I can't do it. I can't. But if you're reading books to learn things, there is not a more inefficient way to learn things ever. It's ridiculous. I've tried to force myself to read books because I've been convinced by the propaganda that that's how you get smart. It's so stupid. Yes, people 100 years ago who read a lot of books were extremely smart because that was the only way you could become extremely smart. You don't have to do that anymore. 10 pages worth of good information crammed in 250 pages. What a waste. Anyways, I'm glad you asked this about Jurassic Park because this has also recently come up. I've seen the commercials come out, and I immediately rolled my eyes, And it's because I'm such a big fan of the first Jurassic Park that I hate all the other ones, and I haven't really seen them. I saw the second one. I think kind of the same thing you said. I thought it was okay. But again, you're always comparing to that first one, and it's like, if this was a standalone movie, if this was like the first, I probably would have loved it. But I'm comparing it to the original, and everything that isn't the original just sucks. And it's not good enough. I maybe have seen, I don't even know, but I feel like the next time I saw one, there was that one famous actor guy who I view as like a comedian. I'm not a big fan of his. Is it Pratt? Is that who it is? I don't know why. The dude seems weird, and he's like a comedian, and I don't know why he's in a Jurassic Park movie. And it just felt like a guy that I didn't want in a Jurassic Park movie. And they're in those stupid balls, and they're driving these futurists. And this is what I hate about when they do stuff. To me, Jurassic Park is a stake. And for some reason, when they start making part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 of all these things, you could do the same thing with Terminator. Obviously, 2 was the best, and then they always feel the need to just like add more crap on it. So it's like, okay, we got a steak. What do we do with it? Well, for part 2, let's take like a butter thing, and we'll put that over there. Like, okay, yeah, like I can get behind that. Part 3, what do we do? Should we make a really good steak? Maybe do the butter thing again? Nah. Okay, we'll do the steak. We'll do the butter. And then what if we put like chives on it? Like chives on a steak. Like, yeah, we'll do like a garnish. And it ends up being like what you see these Gordon Ramsay meals, where it's all like the look, but it's like, that looks like it tastes like dog crap, dude. Like, there's no food there, and I don't want to eat any of it. It's like, yeah, but it's pretty. Yeah, but I don't care. I want a good steak, dude. Why are you putting all this crap on it? By the time it's done, Jurassic Park 9, you've got a steak with like cake frosting and sprinkles. Everything's so over the top. Like, how can we make it bigger and crazier? It's like, it doesn't need to be bigger and crazier. It just needs to be better. This is the problem I have with like death metal. Right? There's rock and roll, and there's metal, and there's all these different things with really talented people. And then you get to a certain end of the spectrum where it seems like the level of creativity ends at, I want to scream as loud as I can, and then the drummer plays the drums as fast as he can, and then the guitar guy, strums the guitar as fast as he can, and then we'll just do that over and over again and call them songs. Like, can you sing? Like, no, but I can go. Okay, what can the drummer do? He can go. What does your guitar guy do? He goes. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, yeah, dude, it's heavy. It's like, that's stupid. Do you do anything cool, or like, that is cool? Okay, for like 2 seconds. Like, do you do anything else? Is that it? We need good movies back. Just good movies for the sake of being a good movie. It doesn't teach me. Stop lecturing me. Stop trying to blow things up. Like, let's just put random explosions everywhere, and let's like do these futuristic little bubble things that drive around the dinosaurs. And like, dog, I don't understand why you can't understand this. Have you watched the first Jurassic Park? Have you been able to identify what makes it good? I feel like that's what you should do. Identify what made Jurassic Park a good movie, and then try to replicate that. Because I promise you, it wasn't just like, bro, that's the biggest dinosaur I've ever seen. That is the fastest dinosaur. Those are the biggest teeth I've ever seen. That's the most blood I've ever seen. I didn't sit there in Jurassic Park and say those words. So I don't know why you're coming back and saying we need more and faster and bigger. Oh, we've got a hybrid T-Rex slash freaking Velociraptor. Why? 'Cause it's dope, bro. Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But is that it? How can we go bigger? How can we go crazier? You can't do that forever. So at some point, we got to make a good movie. And there might have been a couple good movies snuck in there. I don't know. I haven't seen them all. I just know that and actually the newest one, I don't know. I don't see, like a lot of the ones that annoyed me, it was a whole lot of futuristic, scientific mutation stuff that was just annoying. From what I've seen from the previews, it kind of just seems like dinosaurs and people running from dinosaurs. And if they were able to kind of rein it in and find a way to make a good movie about, hey, we went somewhere and there's dinosaurs and that sucks, and what are we going to do? It could be a good movie. I don't know. But, yeah, that was a topic of conversation in my house just a couple days ago because we saw that. And it turned out, my wife said, I like the Jurassic Park movies. So I said, well, then I think we just need to do a marathon. So we're contemplating, or at least I'm contemplating, I don't know if she took me seriously or not, doing a, sorry about the printer noises in the freaking background, contemplating doing a Jurassic Park marathon, ending with possibly, depending on how long that takes, going to the movie theater to watch the new one, although I doubt that we'll end up doing any of that. Maybe I'll just do it by myself. Corralling cats around here trying to get anything cool like that done. All right, let's do one more. We got Drew in Green Bay.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay. And I was looking at the roster that we had in 2024 for the initial 53-man roster. And just to remind myself, and at running back we had Jacobs, Lloyd, and Wilson, and obviously Lloyd got hurt right away, and so we were pretty bare. And now we're going in with Jacobs, Lloyd, a healthy Lloyd, mostly Wilson and Brooks, and that just feels so much deeper. And then at wide receiver you had Dobbs, Watson, who regularly gets hurt, Reed, Wicks, Heath, and Melton, and now I feel like Melton and Heath probably aren't even going to make the roster. Watson is starting injured, but we were never really feeling like we could rely on him anyways. And we added a lot of talent with Golden and Savion and Hardman. It seems like he's probably going to make the roster. And the wide receiver room seems not only deeper, but more reliable. And so tight end is pretty much the same. But, you look at the O-line, and we're relying on Myers, and Morgan was a rookie. Now he's got a year under his belt, and then he got hurt right away anyways. So, and now we added another high lineman and Belton, and it's just and remember we had just released Newman that year too, so he was starting for us the year prior to that, so in 2023. So we had a lot going on the O-line, and I just feel like the O-line's been figured out. We pretty much know what's going to happen with it. We brought in Banks, the O-line it just feels like all across the board, we're just getting so much more depth on the team. The one big loss is Preston Smith, and obviously we lost Jair. We did have Preston at the end of, at the beginning of last year, and then we traded him. But yeah, overall, I feel like there's a lot more talent, and I'd encourage people to go back and look at last year's team. Even our kicker was Greg Joseph, and Anders Carlson had gotten cut. And I think we can all agree we've upgraded that kicker a lot. So anyways, have a good one.
Yeah, some of it we'll have to see what the 53 actually looks like. We obviously look a lot deeper now when we have as many guys as we have. I don't know that we're going in with 4 running backs. I don't know if Marshawn Lloyd's going to be healthy by the time we get to that point. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. There's probably going to be some injuries somewhere. Hopefully short-term pup list BS. That's going to be a thing. It's just a question of who and how we handle that. And then we'll have to see in terms of depth, what positions. There's always those positions that they're going to be a little bit lighter in than you would expect, and maybe some that they go a little heavier in. But yeah, there's definitely some areas where you feel good about where we are as compared to, you mentioned the special teams feel a little better about having Golden makes you feel a little better. I don't really know how the offensive line is going to shake out, but you do know that we have a lot of options so that, again, without knowing 100% how guys are going to perform, you feel better than, like you mentioned, when, Royce Newman is starting. Ideally, we have not only an improved offensive line, but a significantly improved amount of depth, considering the investments that we've made. Ideally, we get Elton Jenkins back. Hopefully, with all the Jacob Monk hype, that's real. We have legitimate depth there. Again, I don't know if Rashid is going to be our starting guy. If so, we're going to have first or second round guys as backups, which makes me sick to my stomach, but could be the case. But either way, if not, we have Sean Ryan and Rasheed Walker as backups pending any kind of a trade or whatever. There's also 7th-round pick John Williams that's worth, possibly keeping an eye on. So one of the big things is fingers crossed for a low amount of injuries because, at that point, we're off to hopefully a pretty good start. And then it's a question of, what does Golden bring? What does Barron Sorrell bring? Can Warren Brinson or Colin Oliver add anything? What are we getting from Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton? Hopefully at least one upgrade. What is Aaron Banks going to bring? Is that an upgrade or possibly a downgrade at left guard compared to Elton Jenkins? We'll have to see. Mecole Hardman, what does that do for us? But again, that's why I'm excited for training camp to start. As these things slowly start to sort themselves out, we get a picture of the offensive line, a picture of the wide receiver room, kind of see how these things sort out and how these guys are doing. Very excited to see how Golden progresses, how Jordan is looking, how Marshawn Lloyd is looking. The offensive line, obviously the pass rushers. I'm hoping to hear a lot of, I've mentioned many times before when in 2019 we kept hearing how Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith were unblockable. I'm pretty sure that was the two. And I remember thinking, this is BS. I mean, it was against Bakhtiari, but I remember thinking, there's no way. Because remember, I had very low expectations for Zadarius to begin with. But, we got this young Rashawn guy that just got drafted, and, we'll see. But Zadarius was never this elite player. And then what happened? Zadarius was elite. Rashawn didn't play as much in his rookie year. Probably should have played more, but that ended up being real, the Zadarius hype, that he was just unblockable and was destroying Bakhtiari and all this crazy stuff. But be on Javon Bullard watch, Kalen King watch, Nate Hobbs, Edgerrin Cooper, Tyron Hopper. I'm real excited to see if there's anything there or if he's just, going to be another year of backing up and seeing what happens next year. But, yeah, I mean, this is the offseason is a time for people to be optimistic. And, it's unfortunate for the negative fans because if you're not happy now, you're never going to be happy. This is when your team is at its best. From here, it's all downhill. From here, all the hopes and dreams about this young elite draft pick or these great free agents, that all goes out the window. Guys start getting hurt. Guys start making mistakes. If you don't enjoy your team now, I don't think you're ever going to enjoy them. But, all right, I am going to leave it at that. I appreciate everybody getting your calls in. They're starting to pick up the pace a little bit, which I appreciate, so we'll be able to do this more often. And who knows, maybe we'll get back to doing two-a-days if we can get a regular stream of these. But appreciate all you guys hanging out, and hopefully you guys got some good holiday plans. Actually, you know what? Today's the 3rd, which means tomorrow's. I was just thinking I should do like a 4th of July thing. Well, apparently it's too late for that. I think I mentioned I bought ribs. They actually just arrived, so I haven't done ribs on my Bronco since we got the thing, so I'm very excited. It's got the hooks where you can hang them. I'm not sure that that's even the best way to do it, but it's just cool, and it's, whatever. So I'm going to be hanging some ribs for the 4th of July. None of this is exactly what I should be doing for the diet that I've been sticking to quite well, but, kid's been begging for pork belly, and we haven't made ribs. It's a holiday. You got to live it up a little bit. But hope you guys have a good 4th, and be safe, eat meat, go America, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.